Happy 4th of July, sports fans, and welcome back to FNN Sports Take with me, Kasey Hudson. We've just got some quick updates for you guys on this beautiful holiday thus far. Of course, kicking off with the NFL. The NFLPA wants actually no preseason games. If you guys didn't catch the news earlier this week, they scrapped week 1 and week 4 to try to minimize these guys being exposed in a contact sport. But they're kind of fighting to have no preseason. Well, where this kind of builds up some controversy is to the fact that the importance of preseason is to kind of warm the guys up into the season, start showing that skill set of those underrated, underdog players. So if they don't have that opportunity, it's going to really jeopardize or manipulate the roster heading into the 2020 season. So of course, a couple players were very, very not happy about this news. So hopefully it doesn't come down to losing the entire preseason. Now, along with everything going on with the COVID-19 stuff and how the NFL is still trying to find safety protocols and procedures and find a way to manage and maintain this situation to the best of their capacity, they're now considering finding players who violate their virus protocols or their virus advice. We know that there's been some heat on Tom Brady's back because he's continued to host workouts amongst teammates over at a Tampa prep school, and they asked the players to stop doing group workouts. They want them to work out by themselves so that they can get things under control and figure out how they're going to head into training camp, where we are now a little less than 3 weeks out from. So if they start finding players, I'm sure we'll see a lot of the guys dial it back. It's not just Tom Brady. Obviously, it's the first name to come to mind because it's been in the headlines the most in terms of him just kind of being like, look, I'm ready for this 2020 season. I'm going to do everything I can. And then we know Tom Brady's not so subtle. He's even thrown some things on his social media about, you only have to fear itself and everything else. So he's made it quite clear that he's not afraid of coronavirus and he's not afraid of spreading it or anyone getting it. He's just ready to focus on the 2020 season at hand. The Redskins have some issues taking place right now. Between the team owner and the NFL, they have to now figure out what they're going to call the Washington Redskins. The NFL pulled all merchandise off of their website earlier this week, and FedEx, who is a prime sponsor of that stadium, decided that they will be stepping back until a name is revised and put in place instead of the Redskins. Browns tight end David Njoku is requesting a trade. This is a bit of a shocker because we thought he would be a star on that offense. His tight end style is more of that hybrid tight end. I never saw much of a hand in the dirt, heavy blocker kind of guy. So if that's what they're looking for, or if that's what they were trying to utilize more so, then yeah, he wasn't really their guy. But on top of that, it was a bit more of the Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry show last season. Of course, that was a lot of excitement. Baker Mayfield had a chip on his shoulder, and he kind of just has that same chemistry, energy, and confidence as those two guys. So we didn't hear or see enough of that star tight end that we thought we were going to see. As a hybrid tight end, you're better in a different system, not so much pro-style offense. So, good luck to him and what team he may end up going to. I would love to hear you guys' feedback on where you would like to see him end up if they honor his trade. Some NFL teams are actually considering now, instead of a 90-man roster heading into training camp, doing 75. It's just a better way to manage these guys with the whole COVID-19 situation taking place. We know that we talked a couple of weeks ago about the fact that the locker rooms are already going to be an issue with a 53-man roster. These guys are one on top of the other when you go into these locker rooms. They're trying to figure out how to reconstruct a lot of this right now. I was talking with a coworker earlier about the potential of them using the away locker room as well so that they can really create that social distancing in those locker rooms. But if you have 90 men and those extra lockers in there, it's going to be very hard. But can they put these lockers outside? When you think of like high school football guys, they changed all over the sidewalk, outside of the fence, running into practice. That's how I saw guys getting ready. The biggest thing is just containing their pads and, a few of their things, their clothes, obviously. But if you're within the walls of the facilities, I don't think many guys are stealing from you. So hopefully there's not much more cuts taking place. As I kind of referred to earlier about the importance of preseason, training camp is equally as important because, again, you have these guys out here that have unique abilities to offer to these teams, but it's training camp and preseason that put that on display. This is a very important platform for these players to have, not just underdogs, but even star players. You have to think of guys coming off of injury who have to prove that they really are ready to go, or guys that are a year older, and we all know that your body changes year by year. So are they, in a better position with their bodies? Are they starting to lag with their bodies? This is the key time heading into the 2020 season, and it's going to be changed around so much in order to try to protect these guys. My only issue with this is when talks of a return plan started coming around for other professional teams, I feel like the NFL kind of sat back. We've had so much time to kind of start delegating these protocols and procedures, especially when European soccer began to take off. And those stadiums are 3 times the size of what we operate over here. So it almost feels like they were behind the 8 ball to start figuring things out. And now we're kind of in panic mode because we're less than 3 weeks away from training camp trying to make such drastic changes. Like, there's no way we can consider a bubble right now at all because it's just way too late in the game to do so. For NBA news, Lakers assistant coach Lionel Hollins will not join the team heading to Orlando, Florida next week for the restart of the NBA season. He is actually deemed a high-risk individual for COVID-19, so according to him and his family, it's just not worth the trip. Obviously, we don't think it's worth the trip either if you're a high-risk individual. The NBA announced the schedule today for scrimmages at Walt Disney World Resort with 33 games set between July 22nd and July 28th. Starting off the restart of the NBA season will be the Orlando Magic versus the LA Clippers, and then Wizards versus Nuggets, Pelicans versus Nets, and Kings versus Heat all on Wednesday. So it's exciting to think that NBA is that much closer to actually being here. When they started piecing together these scrimmages, they were saying that they wanted teams to play against opposite conferences or the unlikely first-round playoff opponent in the same conference. They obviously wanted to try to remove that asterisk off of these games in this season. And then I guess some good news for these guys is that the NBA union agrees to allow players to have messages on the back of their jerseys in terms of everything taking place in our nation. Stick with us, guys, as we go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we break down some NHL.
At Duke Energy, we deliver electricity and so much more, like free home energy assessments, rebates for energy-saving improvements, payment options to help you better manage your budget, and even bill credits for helping the community use less energy. So no matter what you're doing, we can help you make better energy choices every day. It's just another way we bring power to your life. How much can you save?
Welcome back, guys. All right, so for your NHL updates, we unfortunately heard that multiple Blues players have now tested positive for COVID-19, which will send those positive NHL COVID numbers from around 16 to 17 to roughly 25 or more. Again, only 250 players have been tested amongst these new guys that have been tested. So we'll see what these numbers increase to before they get ready to head off to those hub cities. They do have to start getting ready for training camp first, and that date is for July 10th. On a brighter side, and some good news, is Flyers' Oscar Lindblom has cleared cancer completely. He completed his final cancer treatment. He is clear of cancer, and he is cleared to return to the NHL 2020 to 2021 season. That is amazing news. We saw so much support in the league for him. Everyone backed him up. Everyone had, Oscar Strong on their warm-up shirts. They had warm-up jerseys made for the Flyers. It was just so great to see how well these guys stood for him, and I'm sure all that support helped him fight this even more. So congratulations to Oscar once again for having such positive news in his life. The NHL is now focusing on preparing the 2 Canadian hub cities, Edmonton and Toronto, for the rest of the NHL season. We'll get more information on that coming up. As we said, the guys will not be going into quarantine when they head to these 2 hub cities, but by Canadian law, there is a lot of hoops they're going to have to jump through before these guys can divvy up and head into Canada. As for the MLB, the coronavirus spread continues. There's 31 players that tested positive for COVID. Amongst these 31 players is Braves, Freeman, and Padres' Tommy Pham. Mike Trout, amongst all of this, says that he is not fully comfortable with the return plan. He's not hearing anything that's really significant to say we're going to be able to manage this situation to the best of our ability. Again, they're another organization that has kind of dove really fast. They went from offers to counter offers to kind of figuring out if they were even going to have a season resume to just diving in and heading into training camp, heading into opening day. So I don't, I back up Mike Trout there with the fact that I haven't even really heard an established plan for how the MLB is going to pull this off, and they will not be doing a bubble as well. Another team under scrutiny to start reconsidering their name is the Cleveland Indians. Because of the controversy behind it, we will hear more information from the owner also this week in terms of what they are considering to revise the team name to. Stick with us for another quick commercial break, and then we have some MLS and NASCAR.
One of the things I love about Bass Pro is they have 3 great ways to shop.
You can head into one of their awesome stores, visit BassPro.com or get great gear from that catalog Johnny Morris sends out. Hi, here's your package. Bass Pro Shops, where commitment, passion, and the great outdoors all come together.
Why would you shop anywhere else?
Welcome back, guys. For our MLS updates, we know that we're just 4 days away from the big tournament that these guys are returning to. We've seen some footage on social media of them showing up to Orlando, Florida, everyone masked up. We saw how the lounges looked, how the whole resort was set up for these guys, and most of them are very excited. It's been very optimistic in the MLS world in terms of returning and finishing off their seasons. The unfortunate news, yet again, for COVID-19 is the fact that the Dallas versus Vancouver match has to be postponed because 9 Dallas players have tested positive for COVID-19 and 1 Vancouver player. So they are already in the bubble. We know that they said that they're going to quarantine these guys. They're going to test them after quarantine. And anybody who's been around any players who have tested positive will also have to go into quarantine just to be safe. Premier League updates we will have for you on Monday because those games are taking place as we speak. Me and my girls have been watching it all day long. Let us know who your favorite team is so we can give you some specific shout outs and some updates because I try to be unbiased when it comes to Premier League, but I just can't help it. And Arsenal won today, so I'm a happy girl. As for NASCAR, 7-time NASCAR champion Jimmie Johnson has tested positive for COVID-19, and he will miss this weekend's race in Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He said that initially it just felt like he was battling some serious allergies, which I think that's the scary part is that all of us, the people who have allergies, it's like, oh, it's just allergies. And then some people look at you like you have COVID-19. So Jimmie Johnson is amongst one of those. He is fully diagnosed with COVID-19. He took to social media to let everybody know. So far, he looks good. He doesn't look like he's being defeated by this. A bit of fatigue for sure, but we'll have an update on him throughout this week on him conquering and overcoming COVID-19 so we can see him back on the track. So send him your prayers and best wishes so that we can see him back as soon as possible. Guys, that is it for me. A quick rundown of all these updates. You guys have a safe and happy 4th of July. As usual, stay safe, stay sane, stay kind and compassionate, and wear your mask. It's not that hard. We have to think of others, not just ourselves, and this is going to be a big weekend for all of us, and football's around the corner. I'm sure all of us want NFL to be here without any issues, without anything getting canceled, because a fall without football would just be even more miserable than being in quarantine. You guys stay safe. I'll catch you on Monday.